Welcome to Paternity Truth. Imagine raising a child you believe is yours for 4 years, only to discover through a single social media post that she might belong to someone else. Betrayal, secrets, and a shocking DNA revelation shake a family to its core. Watch as love, trust, and fatherhood are put to the ultimate test, and don't forget to subscribe to follow every twist in this jaw-dropping paternity court episode. Christian Smith enters the courtroom driven by a deep emotional conflict, determined to prove that he is the biological father of 4-year-old Christina, lovingly known as Cookie, despite his estranged wife Khalidah's growing doubts. From his perspective, this case is not merely about DNA, but about identity, commitment, and the years of love he has poured into raising the child as his own. Christian explains that he and Khalidah share a long history, having known each other since middle school and eventually marrying after reconnecting as adults. When Khalidah became pregnant during a brief separation, Christian embraced the news with excitement and hope, believing the baby represented a second chance to rebuild their marriage. He was present throughout the pregnancy, attended Cookie's birth, signed the birth certificate, and proudly assumed the role of father from day one, forming an unbreakable emotional bond with the child. As Cookie grew older, Khalidah began questioning paternity based on physical differences, a suggestion that deeply wounded Christian, who never doubted his role as her father. For him, the accusation felt like a betrayal not only of their marriage, but of the sacred bond between a father and a child. Christian emphasizes that regardless of marital problems, he consistently showed up for Cookie, providing love, stability, and care. His belief in being her biological father is rooted in trust, shared history, and the certainty he felt when he first held her in his arms. Being labeled as possibly not the father threatens his sense of purpose and identity, forcing him to confront the possibility of losing a child he has raised, nurtured, and loved unconditionally. By bringing Khalidah to court, Christian seeks clarity, justice, and peace of mind, hoping the truth will validate what he has always felt in his heart, that Cookie is his daughter in every way that truly matters. Christian describes the moment his trust in his marriage began to unravel as an unexpected and deeply painful discovery. After he and Khalidah got new phones, the old devices were left around the house, untouched and easy to overlook. One day, out of casual curiosity rather than suspicion, Christian began scrolling through the old messages, never imagining what he was about to find. As he read through the conversations, he came across exchanges between his wife and another man that were far too intimate to be misunderstood. The messages included affectionate phrases like "I miss you," words that immediately suggested an emotional connection that went beyond friendship. To Christian, those words alone were devastating, because they implied a history of closeness and longing that did not belong in a committed marriage. What made the discovery even more shocking were the explicit photos attached to the messages. Christian explains that the images included nude photos, some of Khalidah and some of the other man, confirming that the relationship was not only emotional but physical as well. The realization left him stunned, embarrassed, and heartbroken all at once. He felt blindsided by the betrayal, especially because he believed he and his wife were building a future together. When confronted in court, Khalidah does not deny her involvement. She admits that she did send and receive the messages and photos, acknowledging that the exchanges did take place. While she claims she had not personally seen the exact messages Christian found, she confirms that she participated in that type of communication. The admission intensifies the emotional weight of Christian's testimony, as it validates his sense of betrayal and confirms that his suspicions were justified. For Christian, the discovery of those messages marked a turning point in the marriage, shattering the trust that once held them together. The explicit nature of the exchanges left lasting scars, making it impossible for him to ignore what he had seen or to pretend the relationship had not been compromised. That moment became the catalyst for his decision to leave, seek support from his family, and ultimately question everything he thought he knew about his marriage and the life he was trying to build. Khalida explains that the pregnancy occurred during a fragile and confusing period in her marriage to Christian, a time when they were emotionally distant and physically separated. She describes feeling lonely, vulnerable, and uncertain about the future of their relationship after Christian moved out following the discovery of her infidelity. During this separation, communication between them was inconsistent, and she believed their marriage might be coming to an end. When she discovered she was pregnant, the news came as a shock, but it also sparked a sense of hope within her. Rather than seeing the pregnancy as a complication, Khalida viewed it as a possible turning point, a chance to rebuild what had been broken between her and her husband. She admits that when she told Christian about the pregnancy, they were not together at the time, but she hoped the news would bring them back into each other's lives. In her mind, the child represented a new beginning and an opportunity for healing rather than further separation. Khalida says that Christian responded with happiness and excitement, which reinforced her belief that the pregnancy could help repair their fractured bond. Encouraged by his reaction, the two decided to reconcile and attempt to make their marriage work once again. For Khalida, this decision felt like the right path forward, as she believed their shared history and growing family could outweigh the mistakes of the past. However, Khalida also acknowledges that her hope to reconnect through the pregnancy influenced her decision to remain silent about the full truth of her actions during the separation. She believed that since they were not together at the time she became pregnant, there was no immediate need to raise questions or create doubt. Instead, she focused on moving forward as a family, convincing herself that love and time would resolve any uncertainty. While her intentions may have been rooted in a desire for reconciliation, her choice to withhold information laid the groundwork for future conflict, as the unresolved truth would later resurface and deeply impact everyone involved, especially the child at the center of the dispute. Christian speaks with deep emotion as he describes the moments that solidified his identity as Cookie's father, moments that he says defined his life and shaped his sense of purpose. From the moment he learned Khalida was pregnant, he committed himself fully to the role, believing without hesitation that the child was his. He explains that being present for Cookie's birth was not just important to him, but essential. Because the delivery was a cesarean section, he was unable to cut the umbilical cord, a detail that initially disappointed him. Still, he made a special request to the medical staff to allow him to lean over and witness the moment his daughter entered the world, wanting to absorb every second of what he considered a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Christian recalls the overwhelming joy and disbelief he felt when he first saw Cookie, describing it as a moment that confirmed everything he believed about love and family. He emphasizes that witnessing her birth gave him a story he planned to share with her throughout her life, a memory he could one day retell to reassure her that he was there from the very beginning. After her birth, signing the birth certificate was not a formality to him but a proud declaration of fatherhood. By putting his name on that document and giving her his last name, Christian felt he was making a lifelong promise to protect, guide, and love her unconditionally. He explains that from that day forward, he embraced every responsibility that came with being a father, from daily care to emotional support. In his eyes, fatherhood was never about biology alone but about presence, sacrifice, and consistency. These early bonding moments became the foundation of his relationship with Cookie, making the later doubts about paternity especially painful. For Christian, those memories are proof of a bond that cannot be erased by uncertainty or legal definitions, because they represent years of love, commitment, and shared life that he believes will always make him her father in the ways that matter most. Christian explains that his paternity doubts did not begin with suspicion, but with a small detail that immediately felt out of place in his own home. While alone one day, he noticed a CD lying around that he did not recognize and knew he had not brought into the house. The item seemed insignificant at first, but Christian trusted his instincts and felt that something about it was wrong. When he examined the CD more closely, he realized it contained a phone number and contact information, the kind people sometimes hand out to promote themselves or stay in touch. For reasons he could not fully explain, the number stayed in his mind and continued to bother him long after he first noticed it. Acting on that uneasy feeling, Christian searched the number online and eventually came across an associated Instagram account. As he scrolled through the profile, what he discovered left him shaken. Among the photos was an image of a man he did not know, smiling and holding Cookie in his arms. The picture looked intimate and familiar, as though the man was not a stranger to the child. What disturbed Christian most was the caption accompanying the photo, which strongly implied that the man was claiming Cookie as his own daughter. Seeing someone else publicly present himself as Cookie's father felt like a direct violation of everything Christian believed about his role in her life. The emotional impact of that discovery was immediate and overwhelming. Christian describes feeling sick, confused, and heartbroken all at once, struggling to process how another man could be so closely involved with his child without his knowledge. The image forced him to confront the possibility that there was an entire hidden reality occurring behind his back. He submitted the photo as evidence in court but admits that even now, he cannot bring himself to look at it for long because of the pain it causes. That single social media post transformed lingering doubts into a devastating realization that the truth about Cookie's paternity might be far more complicated than he ever imagined. Khalida openly admits in court that during the period when she and Christian were separated, she became involved with another man named Joseph. She explains that at the time, she felt emotionally isolated and uncertain about whether her marriage would survive, which made her more vulnerable to seeking comfort and attention elsewhere. According to her testimony, the relationship with Joseph was not a long-term commitment but a brief encounter that occurred while she and her husband were no longer living together or functioning as a couple. She acknowledges that they had sexual intercourse and confirms that they did not use any form of protection, a decision she now recognizes carried serious consequences. When questioned about why she never disclosed this information to Christian, Khalida insists that her silence was rooted in her belief that she had not technically done anything wrong, since they were separated at the time. In her mind, the separation created a boundary that relieved her of the responsibility to share details of her personal life during that period. She explains that when she later discovered she was pregnant and reconciled with Christian, she genuinely believed he was the father and did not think it was necessary to raise doubts or complicate their efforts to rebuild the marriage. Rather than confronting the uncertainty, she chose to move forward as if the issue did not exist. Khalida admits that this decision was also influenced by fear of losing Christian completely and fear of destroying the fragile progress they were making as a family. She believed that revealing the truth would reopen old wounds and push them further apart. However, her choice to hide the encounter with Joseph ultimately created deeper damage, as it denied Christian the opportunity to make informed decisions about his life and his role as a father. By withholding the truth, Khalida unintentionally set the stage for years of confusion, emotional pain, and conflict that would eventually surface in court, affecting not only the adults involved but also the child caught at the center of the situation. Joseph takes the witness stand and explains that his involvement with Khalida began without any knowledge that she was married or involved in another serious relationship. He testifies that he met her casually while she was walking down the street and struck up a conversation that led to them exchanging phone numbers. According to Joseph, their communication was light and informal at first, and at no point did Khalida disclose that she had a husband. Believing she was single, he pursued the relationship without hesitation or suspicion. He emphasizes that had he known she was married, he would have approached the situation very differently. Joseph recounts that he later learned about Cookie when the child was already around 2 years old. The first time he met her in person left a strong emotional impression on him. He describes Cookie looking up at him in a way that felt familiar and instinctive, as though there was already a connection between them. That moment, combined with Cookie's physical resemblance to him and his family, convinced Joseph that she was his biological daughter. He states that Khalida reinforced this belief by treating him as the child's father and allowing him to build a relationship with her. From that point on, Joseph says he embraced the role as best as he could. He spent time with Cookie on multiple occasions, interacted with her affectionately, and referred to himself as Daddy. Although he admits he was not financially or emotionally stable enough to provide consistent support at the time, he insists that his intentions were genuine and rooted in love. He believed he was forming a bond with his own child and wanted to remain present in her life. Joseph expresses regret over the confusion and pain caused by the situation, especially toward Christian, but maintains that his actions were based on the information he was given and the belief that Cookie was truly his daughter. Christian's mother, Toni Brooks, takes the stand to provide her perspective on this situation and to describe the emotional turmoil her son has experienced. She recounts how Christian first came to her with a sense of confusion and hurt after discovering the social media post that showed another man, Joseph, holding Cookie and claiming her as his own. Toni explains that Christian was deeply shaken by what he saw, feeling betrayed and unsure of his place in his daughter's life. She emphasizes that Christian's reaction was not driven by anger toward Khalida alone, but by genuine concern for the child he has loved and raised since birth. According to Toni, Christian turned to her for guidance and support because he needed someone he could trust to help him process the complex emotions he was experiencing. She describes listening carefully, offering reassurance, and helping him determine the best course of action, which ultimately included taking the matter to court to clarify paternity and protect Cookie's future. Toni also expresses her unwavering support for Christian, asserting that she has always recognized his dedication as a father. She notes that even when the marriage faced serious challenges, Christian's love and commitment to Cookie remained steadfast. She acknowledges the difficulty of the situation, recognizing that it involves more than legal questions about paternity. It also encompasses emotional and relational complexities that affect everyone involved. Toni observes that Christian has invested years of care, attention, and love into raising Cookie, forming a bond that cannot be dismissed simply because of biological uncertainty. She conveys understanding for the pain and confusion Khalida experienced as well, highlighting the human elements that make these cases emotionally charged and challenging to navigate. Throughout her testimony, Toni underscores the importance of prioritizing Cookie's well-being above all else. She emphasizes that the revelations from social media, while painful, must be addressed carefully to ensure the child's emotional stability. Toni supports her son's desire for clarity and truth, recognizing that resolving the situation is essential not only for Christian's peace of mind but also for fostering a healthy environment for Cookie as she grows and forms her own understanding of family and relationships. As the courtroom prepares to hear the DNA results, all parties involved express a shared desire for clarity and a cooperative approach focused on Cookie's well-being. Christian, despite the emotional pain he has endured, communicates his hope that the truth will confirm what he has always believed in his heart, that Cookie is his daughter. He emphasizes that, regardless of the outcome, his primary concern is ensuring that Cookie feels loved and secure. His testimony reflects both the anxiety of the unknown and the deep commitment he has shown over the years, highlighting the importance of maintaining stability and continuity in her life. Joseph also voices his hopes, explaining that he too wishes to know the truth for Cookie's sake and his own. He acknowledges the bond he has formed with her over the years and expresses a willingness to navigate the complexities of co-parenting if the DNA results reveal that she is not biologically his. Joseph demonstrates understanding that the situation is not simply about biology but about the emotional connections and responsibilities that have already been established. He shows empathy toward Christian, recognizing the years Christian has spent raising Cookie and the love he has invested in her, while also affirming his own emotional attachment and the significance of discovering the truth. Khalida emphasizes that her intentions have always been centered on her daughter's best interests. She conveys her desire for cooperation between both men, acknowledging the difficulty of the circumstances and the need for everyone to act with maturity and sensitivity. Khalida expresses regret for the confusion her actions have caused and underscores the importance of creating a stable and loving environment for Cookie, regardless of who is determined to be her biological father. Together, the testimonies of Christian, Joseph, and Khalida illustrate a collective acknowledgement that the situation is complex and emotionally charged, yet resolvable through honesty, communication, and prioritizing the child's emotional and psychological needs above all else. Their unified hope for clarity and cooperation sets the stage for the DNA results to provide answers and guide the next steps in establishing a family dynamic that supports Cookie's well-being and growth. The tension in the courtroom reaches its peak as the DNA results are finally revealed, confirming that Joseph is the biological father of Cookie. This revelation comes as a shock to Christian, who has long believed, without doubt, that he was her father. Despite the disappointment and emotional weight of the news, Christian is reminded that he remains Cookie's legal father, a role he has fulfilled with dedication, love, and consistency since her birth. The court emphasizes that biology, while significant, does not diminish the bond he has created with her over the years, acknowledging that the relationships formed through caregiving, emotional support, and shared experiences are just as vital as genetic connection. The dual reality of this situation, Joseph as the biological father and Christian as the legal and emotional father, creates a complex dynamic that requires careful navigation and understanding by all parties involved. Joseph, learning that he is indeed Cookie's biological father, expresses a mixture of relief and responsibility. He acknowledges the significance of the discovery and the implications it carries for his relationship with her. While he hopes to continue being involved in her life, he also recognizes and respects the foundation Christian has already established. Both men are urged to find a balance that honors Cookie's emotional security and ensures that she maintains stability, consistency, and love from the adults in her life. Khalida, too, is encouraged to participate in this cooperative approach, recognizing that her decisions and transparency moving forward are critical to minimizing further confusion and emotional strain for her daughter. Judge Lake emphasizes that the situation requires counseling and guided support to help all parties navigate the emotional and practical complexities of shared parenting. The court underscores the importance of prioritizing Cookie's best interests above personal grievances or misunderstandings, reminding everyone that the child's well-being and healthy development must be the guiding principle. Through honest communication, cooperation, and professional guidance, the family is encouraged to begin a healing process that acknowledges past mistakes while focusing on building a nurturing, supportive environment for Cookie. Subscribe to Paternity Truth right now.